speaking of Steve Carell, what's the next movie we're talking about?
So we are going to review Welcome to Marwen. Welcome to Marwen. Just for those of you who are just tuning in now, there will be spoilers, so be sure to keep that in mind while you're listening.
Yeah, buddy.
Welcome to Marwen is a movie that came out on Christmas, and we are going to delve deep into this one. And Xavier, have you seen this movie?
No, I haven't.
Really?
No.
You know I was in the theater with you and you saw it,
That was a
right?
different black guy? That's racist? Not all black people look alike.
I have no comment to that.
Yeah, you shouldn't comment. So we're gonna get canceled because of you.
What do I say to that? Like, what do you want me to say?
Nothing.
All right, let's focus on Welcome to Marwen, okay? Jeez. So Welcome to Marwen is based on a true story. What did you think? I talked a lot during the last movie review. Why don't you talk about this one?
Yeah, I really liked it. Steve Carell, last two movies of the year that he was in, I really liked, which is Vice and Welcome to Marwen. This is a really good movie. Interesting concept. So the way it works is this guy, he was attacked because he wore heels, and it was a hate crime. So a bunch of biker-looking dudes attacked the guy.
Neo-Nazis.
That's a terrible thing to do. Beat up people because he was wearing heels.
They're different.
Yeah. Which he seemed like a nice guy. A little bit odd, right? But who cares? Whatever floats your boat, Live life. Do what you want. So what he does is he's a little bit of an artist. So he used to draw and sketch things, but because he got beat so bad, he can't draw anymore, so he takes pictures. So he takes pictures with these little dolls, right? So he buys these dolls, and these dolls pretty much are influences on his life. So, for example, one of the dolls is the lady that helped him heal after he got beaten up.
Wendy.
No, not Wendy, the black girl.
Oh, no, he didn't help her. That is...
She helped him
Julie.
with his rehab.
That's Julie. Yeah, she helped him with the rehab. She also was going through it. She lost her leg, right?
She lost her leg. Another good one is
there are 5 women that are, six women that are kind of part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the movie kind of begins in the doll world, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of is rehashing an old picture, right? Normally he kind of tells new stories,
mm-hmm.
but just to kind of get the audience caught up, because he's been it was 2 or 3 years.
3 years.
It's been 3 years since he's been beaten up. So to get the audience ahead, the director chose to kind of show us the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
So he's flying in this World War II plane, and he gets shot down by the Nazis. And he gets out at the last second, and his shoes were
burned up
in the plane crash.
So he takes women's shoes, which I find very interesting. It tells the story of how he got
exactly.
beat
So
up.
he then sees these 5 Nazis who are metaphors for the real life Nazis that beat him up. So like every character in this doll world are people he knows, and the Nazis being the
people that beat
him up. So they start to beat him up. They cut him. They cut his eye, and it's these 6 ladies that save him. They shoot all the Nazis. The Nazis die.
But they keep coming back. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So the women are the big one, the one that saved him was named Wendy, but Wendy kind of right off the bat gets put into the R.I.P. box. Yeah. So anyone who dies in
anyone that leaves his life,
Marwen Cole, which is what he calls his doll world, they get put into this R.I.P. rest in peace box, and they don't come back out. So the 5 ladies that are in Marwen Cole, that are the women of Marwen, are Roberta, who's the owner of the store where he gets his dolls, Julie, who is the friend from that Mark meets in rehab, Anna, who is the Russian housekeeper, Suzette, which is the actress, Mark's favorite actress.
What kind of actress is she?
An adult film star. And Carl.
What's an adult film star do? It's not quite sure.
She makes adult films. And then there's
isn't that 18R?
Yes, 18A. And then there's Carell, who is his friend at the bar that he was leaving when he got.
They make meatballs together.
And the Nazis keep coming back to life. because of the evil witch of Marwen Cole, or the witch of Belgium.
What was her name again?
Deja.
Deja.
She's like this green or bluish kind of
Blue.
character with her
Let's say
hair.
bluish. Aqua, maybe?
Teal? Aqua? Something like
Yeah.
that. So that's kind of the doll world, and we see that first. And then in the real world, we see Mark. And Mark is the character that gets beat up. We see his struggles. And what's he really struggling with, Xavier?
He's struggling with... So obviously he got beat up and it's a very traumatizing experience. He also he's struggling with, I want to say, self-doubt.
Anxiety.
He doesn't feel anxiety. He doesn't feel safe anymore. Another thing, he has amnesia a little bit.
He cannot remember anything from the day before he got beaten up.
Yeah.
And when he looks through his book, he's thinking, was I married? You know, like, was I an artist? There's these pictures. He doesn't know who he was.
Yeah. He just pretty much has a new idea. He used to be, honestly, his drawings were very great. Really good. I mean, very great. I can't speak English today. But, yeah, you can tell he's having these struggles, and throughout the movie, that's the theme, how he handles those struggles, right? And he usually handles it through his dolls and everything like that.
And I found this was a very compelling story. I felt for Mark immediately. I thought Steve Carell did a great job with this character, and we kind of are introduced to a new neighbor that moves in across the street, Nicole. Mm-hmm. And Nicole is someone that Mark sees right away, and he's enamored by her. Mm-hmm. By probably her beauty, I would say.
Yeah.
So he decides to make a doll out of her.
Mm-hmm. He finds the doll that looks just like her, and it's a redhead like Nicole. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, the first part, like, I feel bad, but I just got a little creeped out. He's just like watching. He's like, "Oh, what's that? Who's that?" He's like peeking up and just kind of.
And this guy goes to the self-doubt, right? He's after getting beat up, he's lost his his ability to socially interact with people. And we see that throughout everyone. When he's interacting with all of these women, we see it. So the person I would say he's probably closest with is Roberta, right? The store owner. And we kind of get this idea that Roberta has a crush on Mark.
Yeah.
She feels for him. She invites him over for dinner.
Invites him for to go see... let's see, movies? Was it a movie?
Yeah, movie, a little bit of everything, right? Like, we clearly know this is the romantic relationship that we think that's going to happen. But the real romantic relationship as being written is this with Nicole. So Nicole kind of comes over and asks Mark, "Hey, what's going on?" And Mark explains everything about his life, about Marwen Cole to Nicole. And he's telling him the stories of all of these ladies. And she's interested, right? Yeah. She's very interested. She supports Mark like all of the girls do. Like,
yeah, once they hear a story, they tend to support him, right? They felt that he's by himself. He's honestly, if I was in that movie, I'd probably try to help the guy out too, but I don't know, maybe he wouldn't like me.
Right, exactly. And then what we get is kind of, she asks him, "Who's this other girl that's kind of Deja, who's in this thing?" And he's like, so like he explains like how Roberta is the store owner, Julie is from the rehab, right? She explains who all the dolls are, and Nicole's like, "Who's this one? Who does she represent?" And he's like, "I don't know yet." And I don't want to talk about. I think both of us picked up on who it was right away. Yeah, but I don't want to go into that right now.
Never mind. Well, that's a spoiler too.
Yeah. So this Nicole doll right away takes to Mark, and Mark's like, "No, you can't touch me because any girl who comes close to Mark gets killed by Deja."
Yeah.
Or not killed, gets sent 1,000 years into the future.
Yeah.
So they start a romance at night, surprising everyone.
So Deja can't see at night. She's not operational.
Yeah. So he actually proposes to Nicole, and Nicole says yes.
Mm-hmm. In the doll world.
In the doll world. So then what's going on, though, really, in real life, Mark actually proposes to the real Nicole, and Nicole's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to leave you on."
He's in the friend zone, guys.
He's in the friend zone. But Mark takes it really, really hard. Yeah. And this sends him into this kind
dark spiral. He wants to do as much drugs as possible.
And yeah, so he's taking these pills, these aqua pills, teal pills,
These
blue
teal
pills.
pills. Yeah,
He's supposed to take one a day, but he goes through them a little bit faster than that.
like that.
A little bit faster.
He's a pill popper.
Yeah,
He's
pill popper.
what we call in today's society a bean.
I don't know what that is.
It's a pill popper.
Okay, fair enough.
It's for the younger viewers.
Oh, for the younger viewers, there you go. It's called a bean, you said?
A bean.
A bee?
A bean. Like a
bean?
bean, like
Like I ate a
chicken
bean?
and beans.
Oh, okay, so a bean. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. So when Mark ever does leave his home, which he doesn't, he does sometimes. Like he goes to work at the bar where he got beat up. He goes to the
Courthouse.
He always brings his dolls with him.
With
dolls
his Jeep.
and his Jeep,
That
and he
Jeep
kind
is
of carries him
amazing.
around. It is a
I
very
want
cool
that
Jeep.
Jeep.
It
I
is
want
really
that
cool.
If I was a kid, that'd be. He has better toys than I did as a kid.
Oh yeah. Now, but again, he probably gets it all from that photography, right? He gets paid for all the photography, and he's gonna have a show that he hasn't decided whether he's gonna go to or not. So Mark has to go to court for the sentencings of the 5 people who beat him up, but he's avoiding the call. He doesn't want to go because of the anxiety, the fear.
Yeah, they beat him senseless, and you can really tell that this really affected him.
Yeah.
He's traumatized.
He's traumatized, and you really feel
PTSD for him.
Exactly, and again, this is where I really find the compellingness of the story because Steve Carell makes me feel for him every time I see him in the real world. I really kind of I feel for that character. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be bullied that much, to be beaten, to be afraid of your shadow.
Yeah,
and
to be afraid to even set and talk to society. Right, that's how scared he was. Like he was very. Before then, we get little flashbacks, and we see how he's very confident in himself, very happy, enjoyed life. He had not a care in the world. And then to see what he becomes, it's kind of like... Actually, just won't get into it. I was going to say it's like the transformation from Theon in Game of Thrones, right? How he becomes Reek. But for him, you see how he transforms from this confident guy to this guy that's scared of pretty much... Yeah, like you said, his own shadow.
So when he goes to the courthouse for the sentencing, the judge brings in the people who beat him up, and he gets one look at him, and the people who beat him up turn into the dolls, their Nazi doll form, and he loses it, and his actual doll comes to life and shoots the judge and everyone, and helps him escape. Now,
well, he doesn't shoot the judge; he shoots the Nazis.
Sorry, the judge gets shot by the Nazis.
Yes,
Sorry, that's what it was. So he runs.
He's the hero.
The Mark doll tells him, "Get out of here, Mark! I got you." And really, what happens is he just runs out of the courtroom in fear. And the judge says, "We'll give you a week. Like, get your crap together."
It wasn't like that. It was just he was like, "Yeah, I'll give you time to."
But again, and this is a great scene to kind of get you to feel like he's afraid to be in the room with these people. Yeah. And this is just for the sentencing. They've already been found guilty. It's what's the sentence do they get? Do they get the minimum sentence or the maximum? And the lawyer wants to get the maximum sentence because of it was a hate crime, as Xavier pointed out earlier. So after this rejection, after this court scene, Deja asks Mark to build him a time machine. What are your thoughts on the time machine, by the way?
I feel like the time machine was to be used to go back in time.
No, sorry, no, I don't mean that. I mean the look of the time machine.
The Back to the Future.
You know that Robert Zemeckis, who directed this movie, directed Back to the Future, right?
Sorry, my apologies.
So it's a DeLorean time machine that he goes into. So Mark took the rejection hard. He goes to take a bunch of pills. And then we get into this climax. And we have the Nicole doll being shot by the Nazis. We have Mark and Deja about to leave in the time machine to go to the future. And at the same time, we're going from real world to doll world. In the real world, Mark's opening the pill. So now we get this idea that Deja isn't an actual girl that Mark knows. It's the pills.
It's the pills. And the time machine's metaphor is to
death,
kill
to
yourself.
go into the future.
Yeah.
So he's going to take the entire bottle of pills and kill himself. As Mark is kind of trying to save Nicole to bring her with him because apparently Nicole was saved.
Yeah.
He grabs Deja's arm and we see that she's wearing a Nazi kind of swastika on her arm, and he makes the connection that she's a Nazi spy, and that the pills and in the real world and in Marwen Cole, the doll world, that Deja is a Nazi that is helping keep Mark
Yeah,
down.
it's helping him. It's suppressing his true feelings. Like it's not the best route. It's pretty much anti-drugs. It's more natural.
So just before Deja gets off in the time machine, he jumps out, and Deja leaves.
Mm-hmm.
And with Deja gone, all of the Nazis they stay dead, and
Yeah.
we see their
Skeletons.
skulls. They turn into skeletons. So Deja is really the pills, and this is the symbol. This climax is the symbol of him breaking this addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What a great the symbolism is so amazing in this movie.
I really like it.
I just want to say that.
To me, this is a story about humans versus addiction, and I think that it's not even just addiction. It's your self-worth. It's your pain. How pain can destroy.
Yeah.
And what we see in this movie is resiliency at its finest. I like the fact that the delicacy people have around Mark, or how anyone, like, whenever, think of anyone that has a loss in their life, right? When you have to deal with them, you're always a little different around them. You kind of walk on eggshells a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Everybody that's had a terrible experience, we always do that. Sorry, my apologies.
And what we see in this is we see the lawyer being very very kind to him. We see Roberta. We see Carlola. We see a lot of these people. I thought it was a really good job, and I thought Steve Carell did a great job with his acting in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It was well done to Steve Carell. Like I said, the man's been he's been on the rise.
Yeah. And I think that the ending of the movie, when he goes to court and he gives that speech and he kind of asks Roberta out, and they kind of like to show that he's moved on. He's no longer going to live.
He's not in the dark place anymore.
In that dark place, and I really liked it. So, but I do have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Now, movie's not doing very good. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't have it very good. There's a lot of criticism towards this movie. Why do you think people don't like it?
I never really. I don't have the right answer for that. Maybe it's because of the other movies that are doing well. I feel like a lot of the movie. There isn't a lot of movies that came out at the same time.
Yeah,
around,
like
right?
Bumblebee that has 94 on Rotten Tomatoes, whereas this one's got 30.
Mm-hmm, right, and
I'm not saying this movie's perfect. There are flaws to this movie, and we'll get to what we didn't like about this movie in a moment. Like there are flaws to it. It's not a masterpiece. It's not a work of art. But 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, I don't get it. Do you think that people missed the message about addiction?
I feel like, a lot of it is more interpretation. Plus, I feel the reason why Bumblebee's so popular is because people think they fixed the Transformers, because they all think it's a reboot. But
do you think people are missing the moral? Like, we picked up the moral right away, right? Addiction, overcoming, resiliency. Especially, like, in our world where I think people are not equipped to deal with resiliency anymore. That people crack under pressure. They can't deal with problems. This movie is to me, not just the biopic that it is, but it also shows kids, teenagers, adults, that you can overcome things and overcome addiction.
Yeah. That's a very valid point. I feel, like I said, I'm at a loss for words. Most of the time, people are kind of find a lot of times people just want the big wow action, boom, right? That's the problem with that. Like, the Marvel movies are popular, but they just want more. A lot of people taking action, right? No one likes to look at the symbolism of movies anymore.
And maybe that's it. Maybe that's the problem. Like, we've lost the ability to analyze these metaphors, right?
Yeah.
Like we've talked about. There's a lot of metaphor in this movie. This movie doesn't tell you everything. You have to read between the lines a little bit. Now, it's not. There's no real master twists in this movie.
Yeah.
But you have to read between the lines a little bit. I will tell you, I really like this movie, and do you come one of the things that were criticized about this movie were people said they didn't feel for Mark. I've already told you I really felt for Mark. Do you agree with the people who say that you can't relate to Mark? That he's not you don't the writer and the director do not give us pathos or reasons to care about him.
I would disagree. I find there's plenty of reasons to care about Mark. Like literally from the first set, you see that he's timid, he's scared. Uh, People don't really like anybody that has that traumatic experience already. Like right, you get beat up by like 6 people. I've never been jumped by 6 people, but I imagine it'd be totally unpleasant. And it's weird that people are saying that.
I think it's very weird. I think I from the very beginning of the movie, I felt for him. I
Yeah.
was invested in him. And again, this speaks not only to the writing of the story, but to Steve Carell
Yeah.
and his acting. Like he is great. I saw, you know, this might be going too far, but I saw a lot of Michael Scott in this character. Maybe not like the
Yeah.
buffoonery of him,
Not
but
the
like
buffoonery, but the loneliness.
the just wanting to be a part of something, but
Yeah.
but not being able to. Right? It's like you see the awkwardness of Michael Scott when he's trying to be friends with Jim or other
Yeah.
people in the office. Whereas I really felt a lot of that in this movie, and again, I really liked that.
Yeah,
I thought he was the perfect actor for this movie.
Yeah, honestly, there's some people that get a good role. Like that was good for him. This role was made for him. Well, not made for him. It's not a role. We'll
No,
say
it's
a biopic.
it's a biography.
Yeah,
but now,
but
granted, it's a fictional biography, right?
Yeah.
Like the dolls in this movie that were made were not all of the dolls in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
There's truth to the movie, but it's at the end of the day a movie where they've pushed it forward. This is actually there was a documentary made for this. I think it's called Welcome to Marwen Cole, which is the name of the actual city, and you can go watch it. I think it's on Netflix if you want it.
Yeah.
And that's something that I will probably do over the next
Yeah, give
month
it a
or two
check
when I
out.
have some time.
See
because
more about this. This is an interesting story.
I'm interested. I'm interested in him. I was invested. So here's a question. And this is like one of the questions that we were talking about a little bit after the movie, or that was brought up to me. Do you think that him making dolls of people in his life, do you think that's a little creepy?
I mean, me personally, I wouldn't do it, but everybody has their own way of dealing with their problems and coping with that, and it helped him. Obviously, it helped him to heal. So I wouldn't say, "Oh, don't do that" because it's creepy. I would say, me personally, I wouldn't do it, but it helped him heal. Most people would probably say it's creepy, but you have to know the context of what happened to him.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's the motives behind something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Like, these women that he made dolls of, they were his inspiration.
Yeah.
They're what offered him hope. They were the protectors, right? In the very first scene, it's the Nazis beating him up and the woman standing up protecting him. The
Yeah.
women protect him, not the other way around. This isn't a chauvinistic movie where Mark has to protect all of these women. The
Yeah.
women are actually protecting Mark. So if we actually know the context behind it, I think it's admirable that you think of me as someone that can help you. And again,
Yeah.
there's metaphors to this movie. This is a character that needs help. But he doesn't know how to ask for it. He's socially awkward.
Yeah.
And I would have no issue with it, but I don't take things personally in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care. I'd almost feel honored if someone made a doll out of me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying with the context, right? It's all about motives, right? If someone's making a doll about you, like, hey, man, like, look, we made these 2 dolls and they're kissing and stuff. It's not like that. It's more hey, you really helped me out in my life, and would you like to make it? It's like someone making a character about someone.
Yes.
Inspired by a character, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing. Like I said, other people have different ways of doing it.
And I think people think that the character is creepy because he's meant to be creepy because he's socially awkward.
Yeah.
And that's a whole element to it. It's not socially awkward because he's a loser. Or because he's a psychopath. He's socially awkward because of his confidence, because of all of his self-worth and past experiences, right? All of these things. Again, okay, we've praised this movie a lot, but let's talk about some criticisms.
Mm-hmm.
What are things that you didn't like about the movie?
I'd like more of an explanation on like a couple of things, right? I wanted to see more of what happened with the Wendy character, right? I was a little curious of what happened. They never really fully explained what happened with Wendy. she gets mentioned here and there, and then she was just a throwaway line like, "Oh, is Wendy gone?" Yep, she completely moved on, and then that was that. No more mention of her.
Well, absolutely. I that's my biggest criticism. The characters aren't developed.
Yeah.
Even in both in the doll world and in the real world, we get like one scene of Anna, right? The Russian, the Russian housekeeper.
Yeah.
She's in one scene and then she's gone. We don't. From in that one scene, we get there's a connection there, but we don't see it.
Yeah.
Julie never actually comes into the movie. Like she's seen in a
just
video
in the background. She's just in one background flashback.
You talked about Wendy. Suzette, okay, doesn't need to be developed. Just a character.
Yeah,
she said that.
You know, she's his play toy.
So like even Carell, she's not really developed.
Yeah, and this is the one he has the most. Well, Roberta's the one he has the most interactions with.
And
Nicole, yeah,
and those are probably the two that are developed the most. But I would have liked to see more of that. And again, I know that the movie's already long, but I would have liked to see more of that in the movie.
Yeah.
Not all the story arcs really end. There's a lot. I left the movie with more questions than I would have liked.
Yeah, like more information about Nicole and her ex. We didn't really see that. He was just kind of like a dick. Yeah,
that's it. He was in 2 scenes of the movie. He was starting to beat him up, and he was terrified of him, and then he kind of disappeared. I would have liked to know a little bit more of Marwen Cole. I would have liked to know more what happened with Roberta. That they do have like that scroll of things that happened in his life, but there's not enough. They didn't give us enough closure, and again, to me, plot is so important. Not having that is important. We don't even know the verdict of the trial. What was this sentence that these guys got? Like the whole thing was part of the sub storylines was getting him to court, getting him to testify. So he does. What was the outcome? What happened to them? We even see in the trial scene, like one of the guys, you could tell was really sad about what he did. He was crying, like he felt bad about what he did. There was remorse, but we don't see the development of that remorse, right? We don't see any scenes with him or an apology given. I felt it wasn't necessary. Either just make them bad and don't worry about it, and just say, oh, they each got 10 years in jail, something like that. I would have liked more of Mark's world as well. Maybe his pre-life, whatever you got. Yeah. I will also say this. Maybe this is on me. I actually thought Roberta was Mark's wife throughout the movie. I thought for sure. Again, I hadn't seen the documentary, but the way it was written, like I felt like
it sounded like it was his wife, and she's trying to get him to remember.
Yeah, or just be like trying to get back into his life because through a different way, through being nice to him. I don't know. Either way, there were flaws to this movie. Yeah. So what would you give it out of 10? What's your rating for this movie? Let's rate it. We've talked about
give it a nice little 8. I'll give it an 8.
No, you're a little more generous than I am. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. And again,
because you're a hater, you hate dolls, you think he's weird.
I don't think he's weird. I really like the movie, but I can't give it an A. I can't give it an A because it wasn't complete. There's more to the story. I love it. I love the concept of the story. I love the character, the acting, but it didn't give me enough. It didn't give me. If I leave with more questions and answers, I can't give you an A. B plus. I'd even go like 7.8. Like I go as close as I can to that to A without giving it an A.
We don't do 0.8.
I know, so 0.5 exactly. Right. So that's why I'm going 7.5. But like I would be leaning toward. I'm leaning towards the 8. Like I'm there. Okay. I just needed a little bit more to get there.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. That's our review on.
So would you say that Welcome to Marwen escaped the 8?
It definitely escaped me.
Segue or what?
That is a pretty brutal segue.
Let me try again.
All right, try again. Take 2.
Would you say Mark escaped his demons?
Oh, that's a better one. There you go. Second time's the charm.